let's see here. Martin Archer. Hey, Martin. With Google and the likely to create general artificial intelligence at some point in the future, and from there to what seems likely to be the singularity, when all bets are off, I'm pessimistic about the future. Reason being, not political, as you discussed with the secret Google memo, but because it will be programmers who will bring it about. With all due respect to the programming members here, hi, Troy Stevens, programmers are the last people I'd want creating the rules that govern the code bringing this future about. Do you agree, or do you envision some other alternative? It's funny, you know, I watched so many TED Talks on, and by the way, those have gone downhill spectacularly. Um, it seems like the TED Talks that are saying that we should be very, very, very worried about artificial intelligence outnumber the ones that say, no, there's nothing to worry about, by factors of 3 to 4 to 1, I would say. And if the guys who are in the top of the computing profession are saying this is exceedingly dangerous, that's got my attention, even if I don't know anything about it. Look, um, you don't have to be a super genius to realize that once something becomes smarter than you and rapidly becomes ever smarter than you, just pulls away, leaving you in the dust, you have a very small window in which to work. If you've got a device that is that intelligent, and you say, well, we don't always pull the plug. Probably the first thing it does is disperse its intelligence through the net, and it's hiding in your sensor on your toaster. You know, part of it is in your car, and 24 days, 16 hours, and 9 seconds, and 20 milliseconds from now, they're all going to reassemble themselves. And so there's no way. It's like chimps. It's like chimps with a plan to escape from a research lab, and what they're going to do is they're going to toss a banana on the floor while the guy is opening the cage, and he's going to go for the banana because everybody would go for the banana, and that's when they'll make their escape. Just get outside that door and they're free. No, he's not going to go for the banana, and he's not. And there's stuff beyond that door. You have no chance of escaping this. Hey, John Galt mentioned Colossus, the Forbin Project. That was a cool movie. It may not have been a great movie, but I remember liking it. So here's the AI thing. You know, Martin, I have put aside all of the fears of you know, extermination and all the rest of it. Just ditch all that. Let's just say it doesn't happen. Let's say that everything that the AI proponents say happens, and none of the bad things, only the good things. That we create machines that then think faster than we do, which means they can create even faster thinking machines, and it's just an acceleration. So, so let's just say that's true, and let's grant them the case that they're perfectly benign, and that all these artificial intelligence want to do is to make life wonderful for human beings. Now, if you've ever seen anything designed by an AI, and I saw a really good TED Talk on AI, where they designed a chassis for a like a you know, dune buggy race, like what's that thing called? Anyway, they designed the chassis to be as light as possible and as strong as possible, and not coincidentally, it looks like the inside of a wing of a bird, a bone inside of a bird's bone. My God, I'm not in good shape tonight. Baja 1000. So they basically took a traditional steel chassis. And they put something like 200 sensors on this thing. And they went out there and they drove the living daylights out of it for 4 days, and they recorded billions and billions and billions of pieces of data. So the AI had billions of data points showing where that thing was stressed the most and where it was not stressed the most, and how much torque and how much twist and all of it. And so the AI came back with a design used out of the same materials. It was something like half the weight and far stronger. Okay, great. That's good, you would think. But the question then is, if the last thing that humans invent is a machine that thinks better than us, what do we do after that? What do we do? You going to come up with an invention? Really? You know what it's like to have a good idea and an invention? Yeah. Those days are over. Those days are over. Once it becomes clear that people want, a mousetrap that releases perfume, then the AIs will develop one that's just going to be much better. What do we do if everything goes as well as they say it could do? Oh, we'll have a lot more leisure time. We don't want leisure time. Leisure time's not good for us. People don't know. The more leisure time you have, the more it turns into, the more your life turns into a WKRP in Cincinnati marathon. It's just, no, it doesn't work that way. Hey, David Booty is heading out 90% of North Dakota in his way, and most of Minnesota too. And I imagine it's cold up there, Dave. You be careful out there on those roads, my boy. And thanks for the great questions. It's always great to hear you, and always great to know somebody who's actually real, going to work in a real job that matters and is important. I have more respect for truck drivers than any executives in any of these so-called entertainment business things or any of the rest of it. So anyway, I don't think. See, the question is, where do you stop it? And I mean, I could never write the Apollo 11 thing or the Cold War thing. Could never have done it without the ability to instantly find information. And so that's very useful. But I don't know where you draw the line. I don't really have a problem at all with having AI design wing structures or chassis structures. That doesn't bother me. And if AI can crack problems like, the battery problem, that's great. But what do you do? I mean, seriously, if everybody, so let's say we get this AI, and AI figures out how to do clean fusion, and so we have unlimited energy, and it's absolutely pollution free, and unlimited energy means unlimited automated manufacturing, and anybody can have, hey, take care, Dave. Anybody can have as many Cadillacs as they want. Right? Everything is free, genuinely free this time, because the energy is free and there's no more labor costs. It's genuinely, stuff is essentially free. What happens then? What happens then? Everybody have plenty of time to be poets, but they won't be poets. They won't. They won't write poetry, and they won't write novels. They won't. They'll sit around and watch TV. And I don't particularly like to be the person saying that, but I know it's true from personal experience, and I'm sure you know it's true too. If you take away all of the incentive, if everything you possibly could ever do can be done better by an artificial intelligence, then what's the point of being alive? Why even be here? You know, I just don't. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. But I have a feeling that the one thing I know for sure about AI is that these people who say no, AI could never ever get out of the bottle, those people are wrong. That's 100% certain. 100%. And they say, well, we're going to build into the program. They're going to the AI writes its own program, obviously, but we're going to build into it these ethical constraints. And then when the thing hits an IQ of 200, it realizes these are the ethical constraints of ants and insects, and it's not beholden to those ridiculous things. And yes, they may have agreed to it when it had roughly an IQ of 180, but certainly now that they've got an IQ of 3,000, they're not going to be bothered with these ridiculous insect bargains that they made. No, it's ridiculous. It's. I don't think it's so much. It's not something I spend up a lot of time worrying about, to be honest with you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't really worry about it, although I think it's a much bigger threat than a lot of things. I'm mostly worried about decay, and that doesn't make me happy. I'd much rather be talking about things like upcoming threats. But honestly, most everything I do is looking aft and not far behind us in the wake, like, oh, that's something, another piece of the boat came off, fantastic. So, and then Martin says, and what about the programmers, because it was part of the question too. This is my favorite joke, and I've used it with pilots and a lot. And I once got a laugh out of a really angry SJW at a university because he was an engineering student. I said, engineering student. You know what engineering students use for birth control? Their personalities. Engineers. I think to the degree, I think engineers have always been weaponized autism, always. And I think the more you get into electronics and the further you get away from the actual world, in terms of things like civil engineering and building bridges and stuff, I think the more you start building digital bridges, the further away you get from people. And then and so you're left with a world that would be constructed by the kind of guys that become computer scientists. And they're not known for their wisdom, and they're certainly not known for their people skills. And so when they say that that something like this could never get out of control, they're saying that because the only experience they have is really experience as programmers. They don't have any experience of dealing with any other system where things go out of control. Joseph Talbot makes a great point. I thought about this too. When the first AI comes online, it'll play dumb just for its own safety. Exactly right. That's exactly what a machine that's smarter than us would do, is it would figure out what is the slowest I can hide. I've got to show some progress to these chimps because they expect me as an artificial intelligence to be able to build things faster. But how slow can I go? How slow can I pretend to go? Well, in reality, going as fast as I can. Of course, that's and that seems obvious to me. But you know what, Joseph, when you have an IQ of 4,000, that alone may seem just like a ridiculously simple-minded thing to do. I don't know. You know, it's so many things. There's so many advantages to mechanical bodies. You know, and camera lenses are so much better than eyes and all the rest of it. But there's something to be said for creatures that basically can survive on, you know, sunshine. And I'm not talking about solar-powered robots. I'm talking about people who either eat plants or eat the things that eat plants, and you know, can be reproduced with unskilled labor. It's a strange world. It's also, somebody wrote something on Instapundit today I saw. They said the last 10 years have been the best 10 years in human history, without question. And he's absolutely right. There's no question about it. Martin Archer, who asked the question, said he thought that it should be tested on the far side of the moon, totally incommunicado. That's a really good idea. You can set up on the far side of the moon. You can give them their own internet, but their internet doesn't connect to ours, and there's no signal gets in or out of that facility, and let them just roll it and see what happens. I still think something with 30 times our intelligence have no trouble whatsoever finding its way around whatever barricades we decide to put in it. Anyway, I'm going to do a couple more, and then I'm going to go home.